Welcome to another web edition of No Pulp. Zach Lang with Adam Unger, and everyone's excited for the NFL draft, but there's another college draft that's actually happening before. It's the Premier Lacrosse League College Draft, the first one of its kind for its inaugural season. Adam, that's on April 23rd on NBC Sports, but who do you think is going to go first overall?
Well, it's got to be Pat Spencer because team needs just go out the window when you have someone who's this good. Look at those numbers, 140 goals and 216 points in his college career. Coming into this season, he was getting towards eclipsing the 400-point mark if he kept that pace. He has 90 points this season, 9-0, 40 goals, 50 assists in just 13 games, and this is someone in the offensive end who can do it all. He can feed, he can pass, he can dodge, he can split defenders, he can draw slide, and he's so creative in everything that he does that when you put other pro-caliber weapons around him who are as good as him, if not better, then you're really going to get something special with whatever offense he goes to, and the Archers really should take him with the first overall pick.
Right, so the Archers are going to be first. Now, Atlas LC has the second overall pick, and there's a guy out of Duke who I think they're going to take.
It's Cade Van Rapphorst, a defender out of Duke, a two-time All-American, and he's on pace to get that third straight year of being an All-American. 46 ground balls, 18 caused turnovers so far this season, and he is a lockdown defender, and he's someone that you can count on even off ball as well. A lot of defenders not necessarily as good off ball as they are on ball when you get to that level because, again, it's a show-stopping kind of game where everybody does it all and everybody's in the spotlight. And you think about some of the other top players that I have on my board, Ryan Conrad, Grayson Terrain, two-way midfielders who are also guys who do some of the dirty work and aren't necessarily the stars.
Yeah, so those are some fantastic lacrosse players, but you want to talk about some basketball players?
Sure. I know that's your thing.
Yes. So there's some fantastic basketball transfers that are going to be coming up in this upcoming, season for the NCAA. And one of the guys that I think is going to be fantastic is Nate Sestina, who's a grad transfer from Bucknell. Most people don't really know where Bucknell is, but this guy's got to be really good.
Pennsylvania.
Yes, it's in Pennsylvania. Obviously, you know where Pennsylvania is. You're from there, you cheater. But Sestina, he's going to Kentucky. So this guy's clearly good going into his grad transfer season. Now, you can see those 2018 stats up there, just over 15 points per game, over 8 rebounds per game. But the thing that catches me is he shoots over 50% from the field. That's something that not a lot of college players are able to do. And also from the season that's not up there is the fact that he shoots 38% from three. He's a stretch four. He is exactly what NBA teams are looking for in this day of the NBA in the league, and he's preparing himself for a fantastic draft stock for next year.
And someone who knows exactly what NBA teams are looking for is John Calipari. So what's really interesting to me about that pick and this situation is the fact that he's going to Kentucky as a grad transfer. So he really only has 1 year on Kentucky, just like a bunch of the other recruits, but at the same time, he's 4 or 5 years older than a bunch of those other guys. So I'm looking at somebody in the ACC, Kerry Blackshear Jr. Now, this is someone who had 14 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists per game. He was all ACC second team in 2019. Here's the thing about the ACC. Would you call it the best conference in basketball?
Oh, yeah, undoubtedly.
The most star-powered conference in basketball. So if he's second team in that conference, what school could he possibly go to now that he's leaving because Buzz Williams has left Virginia Tech for Texas A&M? What school could Blackshear go to that he's not going to have that type of all-conference caliber impact?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he gets some of that exposure. But let's transfer over to college football for a second. Now, the Heisman race, it's a long way away, but we have a long ways to go. And there are so many candidates. Adam, who do you think already is your super early pick for the Heisman of this upcoming football season?
Well, it's someone who we've already seen plenty of, and it's someone who was getting consideration for it this past season. That's Tua Tagovailoa. And I think the only reason that he didn't get it is because he was in a situation where he didn't have to play 60 minutes of football. Almost 4,000 passing yards. That touchdown to interception ratio is just uncanny, and the other awards that he got pointed to him towards getting that trophy anyway. Now, Kyler Murray put up tremendous numbers. I'm not going to deny that. Alabama's going to lose a lot of talent around him to the NFL draft, so he's really going to have a chance to shine this year.
See, the guy who I think is going to get it already is Trevor Lawrence. He tore up the ACC last year, and just look at those numbers. 3,280 yards, and he didn't even play the entire season. And as you can see, Cotton Bowl MVP, second team All-ACC, and he was the MVP of the national championship. I have never seen a freshman more poised in a national championship and in taking down such a perennial powerhouse in Alabama. The dude is so talented. And the other thing I want to touch on as to why I think he should be the Heisman winner is the fact that lately when we see Heisman awards, when they go to quarterbacks, they always go to players who are dual threats. We've seen that with Kyler Murray, Tim Tebow, Robert Griffin III, Cam Newton. It's about time that the Heisman Committee looks at a guy who is such a premier pocket passer and gives him the award. Because you look at the Super Bowls of the last 10 years, and you see Eli Manning, you see Joe Flacco, you see Peyton Manning. They're the guys winning Super Bowls. They're the guys who should be winning the Heisman.
Joe Flacco's not elite. I don't agree with that example, but I see your point. But now, if you think about the teams that we just mentioned and the teams that those players are on, Alabama and Clemson. It's a narrative that you hear all over the place, and it's a narrative of the two best teams in college football right now. Now, these two have played each other time and again on the biggest of stages in the new college football playoff, but this is something that you might start to get a little bit tired of. And these two teams are really top dogs. You see anybody else kind of reaching them, and if not, does that make college football a little bit boring?
See, I don't think college football is boring. College football is always fantastic. I'm a huge fan of college athletics. But look at these teams, look at those stats. They're already the most elite programs in the nation, and that's why they're going to reach the national championship yet again. We talked about Trevor Lawrence and Tua. They're the best quarterbacks in college football right now. I don't think there's any catching up to them, and they're easily going to get it back. The only team I think that could potentially reach them is Ohio State, but you have Justin Fields coming in his first year in the program, and Urban Meyer's not at the helm anymore.
Well, a recipe for success in the NFL might be just a quarterback, but something that Clemson and Alabama both have shown is that a complete team is needed to win at the college level, because you could just have Tua, you could drop Tua into a mediocre to subpar defense, and with no running game, he would still light defenses up. He would still have a 4,000-yard passing season. He'd actually have to play 60 minutes a game. But you think about someone like Kyler Murray, who was with a defense of Swiss cheese, essentially. A Heisman caliber quarterback is not everything that they need. And Clemson and Alabama both have so much more than that.
Right, and especially head coaches who deserve a ton of praise. But now let's get to college basketball, actually, or someone who is leaving college basketball after a one and done. Zion Williamson, the #1 projected overall pick in the NBA draft, to whomever we don't know yet. You can see his stats. He's undoubtedly going to be taken #1 overall by whomever. But one of the things we should be looking at is his shoes, and not the broken ones. Whoever he's going to be signing a deal with. Adam, what do you think he's going to be getting money-wise for a shoe deal?
It's going to be 9 figures. It almost has to be, because you think about the star power that he's going to bring. Even if he falls flat on this brand, right? If he falls flat in the NBA, he's still someone who has an unprecedented amount of star power that people are going to buy into now. I don't know what college player is ready to be so bought into on an NBA level that has come out, and you can exclude LeBron James from that category because he didn't play in college.
Right.
You think about the hype going into this, I don't see anything like it. It has to be 9 figures. I say 125.
Right, and the hype is certainly worth the dollar signs. And just to put it into perspective, LeBron James made around $90 million in his first shoe deal in 2003, coming out of high school. In inflation, that's almost $124 million now. Zion's going to at least make $100 million, and who knows who it's going to be with, whether he sticks with Nike like he had at Duke or Adidas. Puma could even make a run for him, so who knows?
I think it's going to be Adidas after the whole shoe break. I'm not really sure, what the other options are. But from big players and big deals and big money to our big games, let's get it started. All lacrosse across the board, and I just love it. Penn State, Rutgers first. Penn State, the #1 team in the country. Who you got?
Penn State, they're the #1 team in the country, and they've shown it every single week. I got them. No doubt.
You think about Max Edelman, that Rutgers goalie, he's going to have to stand on his head against that multifaceted Penn State offense. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, all right. Who's next? Hit me with it.
So we've got Maryland, Johns Hopkins. Maryland, the #2 team in the land. In-state rivalry, these are two of the most storied programs in lacrosse history. Who you got?
I got to pick Maryland because Johns Hopkins, in all honesty, they've been really disappointing this year. And to be honest, they haven't just been fun to watch. Maryland, #2 team in the country, just like Penn State. There's a reason they have that number in front of their name.
I agree. Johns Hopkins lost a lot of seniors, and it shows. Last one, Cornell versus Princeton. Jeff Teat versus Michael Sowers. It's a big one.
Yeah, see, I love the stars in this game, and I would love to see an underdog like Princeton. But you got to give me Cornell. Jeff Teat's fantastic, so I'm a big fan. What about you?
There is a lot more around Jeff Teat than there is around Sowers, so I'm also going to go with Cornell. And I forgot about one more. Apologies to the control room. We've got Ohio State and Michigan. Now, our producers, Tate and Bernie, have some big stakes in this one. I've got Michigan in this. I like the upset. It's in Ann Arbor, and Michigan is someone who really has been able to shake up the Big Ten, even though it's not as top-heavy as it's usually been.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've talked on here before about how good Ohio State is, but their schedule's pretty weak. If there was any team that I feel like could knock off a ranked team, it's Michigan. So I got the Wolverines in this one.
All right, that'll do it for No Pulp. Plenty of lacrosse to wrap things up for you guys, and that'll do it. And on behalf of our entire crew, our producers Tate, Mason, and Bernie, and with Zach Lang, I'm Adam Unger. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.